Colonel Macgregor, let's start with the diplomatic front, if you'll permit me. There are many wheels moving faster and faster now, and they're not involving the European Union, they're not involving Zelensky, not involving Starmer. Where are these wheels headed, do you think?
We have to keep in mind that what's happening is very, very straightforward. It's not readily apparent to everybody in the United States, or for that matter, I imagine, in Western Europe. But the truth is that Ukraine, its army, its state are disintegrating. That's not a secret, as you've pointed out. Unfortunately, there are still a lot of people here who don't get it. And that's in part because you have numerous retired 3-, 4-star generals showing up on television to tell everybody that things are just fine and with a little more money, Ukraine can win. Pretty soon it'll be impossible to conceal the disaster. But the failure of Ukraine and the Ukraine project, the proxy war against Russia, is also leading to something else that you talked about, and that's the disintegration of NATO. And with NATO, the European Union. And your point about the absence of any focus on either the EU or NATO at this point, any serious focus, reflects the reality. The President of the United States has no intention of attending the NATO summit meeting next week. I think it's next week, because he doesn't need to. There's nothing to talk about. And the people in NATO have actually marginalized themselves to the point where, frankly, whatever they think or whatever they try to do doesn't matter. NATO is a bluff. It's an empty bluff. And no one in their right mind, as you pointed out in your opening remarks, in Great Britain or France or Germany or anywhere else that I can think of, wants to suddenly join the sinking ship of Ukraine and march east to stop the Russians from advancing. There's no interest in that whatsoever. And Putin has turned out to have exercised patience and been very smart and restrained the use of force only to the point where he needs to employ it. And this is now becoming very, very clear. I think, finally, the Kushner-Witkoff visit was a reflection of the people that ultimately control and dominate Donald Trump. But they were trying to rescue something from the wreckage of Ukraine. They were trying to give President Trump an excuse to show up with President Putin and sign some document that would then confer some degree of gratitude and legitimacy on President Trump for having brought the war in Ukraine to an end. I guess this would have been his 19th war, 20th war, whatever he says. That's not going to happen. And that's not because Mr. Putin wasn't willing to cooperate. He'd be happy to throw a bone to Donald Trump and say, here you go, President Trump. But he can't do it because there's nothing left to throw. So the game is up. It's over. And everything that you described, the picture you painted, could not be more accurate. We're all going to stand around and sort of watch a lot of people go down the drain. And frankly, we really ought to celebrate, because the people you're talking about deserve to go down the drain quickly.